Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into the world of modular homes. We'll be exploring what they are, how they're different from traditional builds, and why some BC mayors think they could be a key part of tackling our housing crisis.
Yeah, it's interesting how this construction method is really gaining traction. Modular homes are really a whole different approach to building compared to the way we're used to. Instead of constructing everything on site, these homes are built in sections. You can almost think of them like big building blocks made in a factory setting. And then these modules, they're shipped to the building site and put together there.
So almost like a giant Lego set for grown-ups. Sounds pretty efficient. But why are BC mayors so excited about this?
It really comes down to the speed and how efficient modular construction can be. Imagine building a whole home in just a few weeks, not the months or even years it can take with traditional methods. That kind of rapid turnaround is possible because of the controlled environment of the factory and how streamlined the whole process is.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal for mayors dealing with a housing shortage. But how is it actually so much faster?
Well, one of the key things is the use of pre-approved designs. A lot of modular home builders, they offer a catalog of designs that have already been checked out and given the okay. They meet all the building codes and regulations, so that can cut down a lot of time on permits and inspections.
Makes sense. But doesn't that mean you're limited in terms of creativity and customization?
There are some limitations, but you can still add your own personal touches. You can choose different finishes and layouts and even combine modules in different ways to get a unique home.
So it's not just a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. But what about the actual building process? What makes building in a factory so advantageous?
Well, in a factory, you get a level of precision and quality control that's tough to match on a regular construction site. You have consistent weather conditions, access to specialized tools, and a much more streamlined workflow. All of that contributes to a more efficient build and potentially a higher quality home in the end.
Okay, so we've talked about speed and efficiency, but let's get to the bottom line. Does building in a factory actually save money for the home buyer?
That's the big question, right? And the answer is it can. Factory production means you can buy materials in bulk and there's a lot less waste. That can bring down the overall construction costs.
And those savings could be passed on to the buyer, making modular homes a more affordable option, which would be a huge advantage, especially with how expensive the housing market is these days.
Exactly. And it's not just the initial price tag. Modular homes are often built with energy efficiency in mind. They use better insulation and high performance materials, so you could see lower utility bills down the road.
So potential savings upfront and lower energy costs over time sounds like a pretty good deal. But are there any downsides? Are there any trade-offs with this type of construction?
Well, like with any building method, there are some things to consider. One thing is the transportation aspect. Moving those big modules from the factory to the site requires special equipment and logistics. And that can add to the overall cost, especially if the building site is remote or hard to get to.
So location is a factor. What about the site itself? Are there limitations on where you can actually put a modular home?
Yeah, site prep is important. You need a level surface with enough space for the modules to be delivered and assembled. If you have a sloped lot or a lot of trees, it might require extra work, which could add time and expense to the project.
Oh, so it's not as simple as just dropping a module anywhere. There are site-specific things to think about.
Definitely. And something else to keep in mind is that modular homes still have to follow the same building codes and inspections as traditional homes. Even though the factory setting helps with quality control, there are still inspections on site to make sure everything meets local regulations.
That makes sense. So it's not a way to get around building codes or safety standards. It's more about efficiency and quality within those rules.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's important to remember that the industry is always changing. There are always new technologies and materials being developed that are pushing the boundaries of what's possible with design sustainability and affordability.
So it's not just about prefab boxes anymore. There's real innovation happening in this field.
Absolutely. The future of modular construction is really exciting. We're seeing things like 3D printing, robotics, and sustainable materials that are changing the way we think about housing. And with the growing need for affordable and eco-friendly housing options, I think modular construction is going to play an even bigger role in the coming years.
It's all really fascinating. It seems like modular homes offer a lot of advantages, especially considering all the housing challenges we're facing.
Definitely. It's not a perfect solution, but it's an approach that we should be looking at seriously, especially as we look for new ways to build more affordable, sustainable, and resilient communities.
So we've talked about all the potential benefits, but how does this actually connect back to those BC mayors we mentioned earlier? You said they're putting together some kind of task force.
Yeah, that's right. They are. They've recognized that modular construction could be a big part of addressing the housing crisis. So a bunch of BC mayors have joined up with Modular BC to create a task force. They're specifically focused on making it easier to adopt modular homes across the province.
So what exactly are they planning to do?
Their main goal is to get rid of the obstacles that slow down traditional construction. Things like zoning issues, permits taking forever, and financing problems. They're working on standardizing building programs and putting together a database of pre-approved designs, ones that already meet all the BC building codes.
So it's kind of like a fast track for modular projects, making it easier for developers to get approval and start building right away.
Exactly. The idea is to make the whole process more predictable and efficient. So ultimately, we can build more homes faster. And that's really important when we're dealing with the housing crisis.
It definitely sounds promising, but are there any downsides to this approach? Could streamlining the process lead to cutting corners or sacrificing quality?
That's a good point. But the task force is really committed to making sure that speed doesn't compromise quality or safety. All those pre-approved designs are still carefully checked to make sure they meet the building codes. And inspections on site are still a key part of the process.
So it's about finding a balance between efficiency and keeping those standards high.
Exactly. And it's not just about the actual construction itself. The task force is also looking at ways to educate people about modular homes, addressing any misconceptions and building trust in this new way of building houses.
So they're taking a comprehensive approach to this.
They understand that for modular homes to be widely accepted, it takes more than just changing how we build. It's about getting everyone on board, the industry policymakers and the community as a whole.
Well, this has been a really insightful look into the world of modular homes. It seems like they have the potential to really make a difference, especially here in BC.
I agree. It's a really exciting time for innovation in the housing sector. And for anyone listening who wants to learn more, I'd encourage you to check out what's happening in your own community.
That's a great idea. Maybe attend some local council meetings, see if there are any modular projects in the works, or even connect with people who already live in modular homes to hear about their experiences firsthand.
The more we understand about these innovative solutions, the more we can all be part of the conversation about the future of housing.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for sharing your expertise with us today. And thanks to all our listeners for joining us on this deep dive into the world of modular homes. We'll be back next time with another fascinating look at the ideas shaping our world.